Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are joining us from. A warm welcome from Perceptive Analytics. This is Chaitanya Sagar. I am the CEO of Perceptive Analytics, and I also have my colleague Adarsh with me, my fellow panelist.
Hello, everyone.
So let's get started with the webinar on creating compelling dashboards for finance professionals. We believe that we have packed enough information to make it worthwhile for you to spend your time. Let's see what you say. Before we get started, a little bit of introduction about Perceptive Analytics, so you know who you're talking to now. Perceptive Analytics is a data analytics company, about 7 years old, and we serve medium to large-sized companies in various areas like data analytics, web analytics, and spreadsheet solutions. We are known to be a trusted advisor, and we aspire to earn respect from our clients, who are largely out of the US and Canada region, also from Australia, UK, and the Middle East, and we have some clients in South Asia as well. A bit more about our services. We are, as I said, we are into 3 different areas: analytics, web analytics, and spreadsheet solutions. So within the analytics area, we are largely into the marketing analytics, risk management or analytics, and the supply chain analytics. Under the umbrella web analytics, we take everything from traffic generation strategy all the way to conversion optimization. Within that would be the organic or search engine optimization related advisory, as well as AdWords optimization and consumer on-site behavior analytics. The next is the spreadsheet solutions, which also includes dashboarding. We do a lot of financial modeling, which may be specific decision support, or it could be a financial model for a listed company, etc. We do a good chunk of contract negotiation or any other specific litigation or data analysis and modeling that would be required in legal areas. One last area would be spreadsheet applications that help either in reporting or otherwise create visual basic applications for our customers. For this webinar, we would use #dashboard so as the hashtag. So if you find an aha moment, type it away on Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn. If you would like to review your dashboard, you will have an opportunity to do so. You can email your dashboard to cs@perceptive-analytics.com, and if your dashboard is taken up for review, then then you would win a Perceptive Analytics dashboard toolkit, which I'll talk about later at the end of this session. You can use your Ask a Question feature in GoToWebinar, that you will find that on the right-hand side, to ask a question, and we will take up questions at the end. You will also be able to ask a question. You can also just email me at cs@perceptive-analytics.com. As we just get into this one, we'll take a small poll about your knowledge of dashboards. I'm just going to pull out a poll about your knowledge of the dashboards. It should be launching in about 5 seconds or so from now. We'll give another about 5 seconds before we close it. Okay, I'm just going to close this one and we will then, yeah. All right. Okay, there you go. I see that about 71% of the audience is is a beginner, and roughly about 30% is intermediate stage. We hope to be able to contribute value to both folks at the beginner stage and at the intermediate stage as well. So next question is actually about the industry. So we get we know which industry you're from, so that we can fine tune the webinar accordingly. We'll close this in about 5 seconds more. Okay, perfect. Please take a look at the results. We have the largest contribution of about 40% from financial services, and about 27% from information technology services, and about 20% from management consulting and others. All right, perfect. So let's move on. Let's now dive in. So the way I want to take up or structure this webinar is to first talk about the importance of dashboards and how it impacts you, number one. And number two, after that, we'll talk about the clarity that you need to be able to deliver a good dashboard, and then we'll get into the design aspects of it. At the end of this, we will also talk about the process using which you'll be able to create, even a novice would be able to create a good dashboard, and we'll talk about the process, as well as we'll take up a case study so that you get a hands-on kind of an experience in the webinar itself. All right. So see, we do a lot of work through the months, through the years, and often a dashboard usually represents a summary of that work. Or even in finance, when we do an analysis, for example, the work that you do is much larger than the effort that you put on dashboard itself. However, just like a book is judged by its cover, your work is judged by the dashboard, right? So it is important for us to get the dashboard right so people can appreciate your work. At the same time, a dashboard is a communication tool, a wonderful communication tool using which you can communicate what your priorities are, what your sense of priorities are, what has your or some other performance has been, what are your insights into what has happened, and most of the time we are not even there when you send a dashboard. So if you want your target audience to be able to take certain actions, then you can almost drive them to take those actions using the dashboard. So dashboard that way is critical. I think the last area I feel you should know is that with you, when you do all the work, you may not be visible, but you add a good dashboard, then people will be able to see the real you, right? All the work that you did. So that automatically has an impact on your career. It will help you grow much faster. So all in all, dashboard is a high impact item, and that's the key takeaway for us. So before getting into what's the dashboard, I'll just give you about maybe 10-15 seconds so that you can enjoy this comic. All right, so let's talk about what are the elements of a dashboard. So I think the first and foremost, a dashboard has to be at a glance, which means that it has to be a one-pager, and you should be able to get an overview of whatever you're looking for using the dashboard. This means that you may have to show trends and comparables, and not just that. I think the information you should be able to allow the user or the reader to be able to analyze the information right away. And also, I think it is important for the audience to be able to focus on all the essentials, as soon as they get to see the dashboard. So what I mean is that no further, scrolling down, no further looking elsewhere. None of that should be necessary to be able to get the gist of what you're trying to convey. Also, mostly we would like to use the dashboard to indicate key performance indicators. So it is a good idea to think about whether something that you're putting on the dashboard is a key performance indicator or not. If it is not a key performance indicator, or alternately, if some data is already represented in another key performance indicator, then you probably would not want to add one more data point to the dashboard. A good example of that could be, if you already have net sales, then probably you may not want to show gross sales unless there is a reason for you to do so. So similarly, I think it's a good idea to think about whether something that you're putting in is a key performance indicator or not. If it is something that most people wouldn't bother about, then you would prefer not to put that in. An example would be sales is always a better KPI than visits to a website, right? So everyone likes more visits, but they don't necessarily always convert into either sales or leads or whatever you're trying to achieve through that website. So think about whether something that you're putting in is a key performance indicator, whether it affects somebody, whether it affects performance of the business. Is somebody responsible for it? If nobody is responsible for it, then you would prefer not to put that KPI. Also, I think it's also important that because you want your target audience to be able to understand the information right away, and you want them to understand trends, you want them to understand how the performance of the KPI has been compared to the previous year, quarter, whatever, right? That the dashboard is in graphical format. You can see a lot of dashboards which have a lot of text, and it's important to avoid text unless there is a very, very important reason for you to do so. Or it is possible that you may want to put some of the text as a separate either sheet on an Excel file, or as a completely different file altogether, and not put that in the dashboard. It is also important for you to, as I said, less text. Also give attention to what is an appropriate graph. Simply because it's a graph does not make it good. A pie chart, even though we may like it, it may not be a good indicator. It may not be. It may not allow the user to read the information that and digest it the way you would like him or her to. I will also talk more about how to choose various elements. I'm going to get to that later in the webinar. Let's now get into the nuts and bolts of how exactly to make a dashboard. Now that we sort of understand about the purpose and the importance of the dashboard. So, So when I talk about how to make a dashboard, I would like to categorize them into two different areas. Number one is the purpose, the concept. Where does it stand? What's the context about the dashboard? That's what we talk about when we talk about purpose. And the second is design. Again, when we talk about purpose, essentially I'm talking about three different areas. One is who is the target audience, what is the value add for the organization, for the target audience, and what's the scope of the dashboard, right? Because these have serious implications on how you, what are the various design choices you make. Um, um, so first on the target audience, I think it's an important thing to understand and ask yourself, who are the people who are going to use your dashboard, right? What are they trying to achieve using that dashboard, right? How are they going to use it? And also, what questions are they going to ask when they review your dashboard? And also, how are they going to consume your dashboard, given that mobile consumption is ubiquitous right now? So maybe that will have a design choice for you as to whether you're going to send an Excel file, or would you prefer to rather send a PDF so that the target audience can either open the dashboard either in an iPhone or an iPad or a regular computer. So I also have the second question, which is what is the context of usage, which is also related to what is the value add that the dashboard is going to have. So the context of the usage of the dashboard also changes what you put in there. An example of that would be if on a regular basis you send, let's say, if you're a treasury manager and you send cash and investments report to your boss every day, right? So the daily report that you send is obviously different from a report or a dashboard that you send when the person has to make a specific decision. It would be different. So what you're trying to achieve, are you trying to just keep the your boss posted about certain information, or are the person trying or is the person trying to make a decision using the dashboard is going to have an impact? Like I said, the next is what is the value add that your dashboard is going to have. So if a report that you send or a dashboard that you send is going to help your target audience, your boss, to stay on top of something. For example, if you send revenue plus lead information to your business unit head on a daily basis, maybe that's going to be very different from what you send at, let's say, something at the end of the month or end of the quarter, which may be much more strategic. The information content may more or less be the same, but how they view it is going to be different because of the context. As I said, if you have to help make a decision, then you might want to add scenarios or help the person to do a what-if analysis himself or herself without having to get back to you, right? Similarly, if your dashboard is supposed to highlight exceptions, then you might want to add callouts or explanations as to why something happened. And if your dashboard is supposed to track progress, then it better track the progress. So the next area I want to talk about is the scope. And I would like to alert to the fact that the scope also depends on the target audience and the context in which you're using or you propose to use a specific dashboard. So this in turn has an impact on what you're going to display prominently in that specific dashboard. Depending on the context, depending on the scope, if it is an organization-wide dashboard, or in that case you might want to drill it down a couple of levels deeper or one level deeper, so that the target audience, maybe the CEO of the organization, may be able to see what is contributing to a specific trend, right? So similarly, whether it's a historical or a snapshot, right? Or is it going to be predictive or interactive, is also a decision you would make based on the scope. So here's the dashboard. I think others will talk a little bit more about this dashboard, but if you look at this dashboard, what it does well is that I think it gleans together some strategic information. You can see there is conversion rate here. There is information about entries, and of course there is information about contributions from various countries or continents and so on. However, what it does is that I think it brings together some strategic information, what it does poorly is that it now gives very tactical software-related information on the right-hand side. So I think the more clarity you have about what is the scope of the dashboard, then you will be able to focus on those areas without confusion. So let us now talk about the design of the dashboard. When I talk about the design, I mean, we can focus on the structure of the dashboard. There are various choices you can make. How do you choose elements in the dashboard? How do colors affect, and how do you choose colors? And the last one being, what's the process that you can follow to create a good dashboard? And when we talk about the process, we will also talk about the case study, that I spoke about before. So I think this is the big idea from this webinar, which is that the dashboard design should essentially support analytical thinking of the target audience. So what that means is the target audience should not be bothered about why you made certain design choices, or that they are not able to get enough detail, or that something is not visible. Not all of these, but they should straight away think what is going on with the data, right? An example of this could be, right, if you have sent a sales report, for example, right, then the target audience, assuming he or she is responsible for sales of that organization maybe, then the person should be thinking, hey, what happened in the current month or quarter or week, whatever, and what has contributed to that is the kind of thinking you would like that person to have, and not, hey, I'm not able to see what is in here, or I'm not able to understand this, or I'm not able to, these colors are not good. None of these questions should bother them. So first, let's talk about the structure, because we have some choices that we can make, and I'll help try and understand how to structure dashboard. So here is an example of a poorly designed dashboard. As you can see, there are various boxes here, and clearly the dashboard design seems to have been hijacked by a spreadsheet. So this is not a very good idea. So let's move on. So today, essentially a dashboard has to be a one-pager. You cannot have a 2 or a 3 or a 4-pager, because nobody has time. And I think the more clarity you have about what you're trying to do, I think it will fit into one-pager most of the time. So given that your canvas is like this, whatever be the format, whether it's a laptop or a tablet or phone, so I divide this into like 4 different areas, and the higher you go, the more important is that real estate. And similarly, the more left you go, the more important is that real estate. So the reason for this is simple. We read from left to right, and most people start from the top left. That's the reason. So based on this, if you divide the screen into 4 areas, not necessarily in these specific boxes, but I mean top left is the first, second is the the top right, and so on. Then you get these 4 boxes. The box with the number 1 is the most important box. This is where you would like to put all the key information, because this is where your target audience is going to see first. Contrary to this, if you have certain high priority item, you do not want to be putting it at number 4. That's, I think, pretty clear. So this is another type of structure that's possible. This is useful in all finance situations when you're trying to make a decision. Right? It can be about compensation, it can be about purchase, it can be about acquisition. Right? So all the dashboards related to these could have inputs on the left and outputs on the right. I don't necessarily mean in exactly half, but depending on what information you have the inputs on the left and the outputs on the right. A quick example of this. So this is a dashboard that is designed to analyze credit line requirements of a company. As you can see, you have all the key information like collection-related information, payment information, and so on. And you have revenue information right here, and of course this is also useful for what-if analysis. And quickly that shows you what the output is, what the impact is. I mean, just to be clear, so the green bars here is the cash flow or the cash balance, sorry, and the red ones are basically this is the loan that you take from a bank. This is the credit line. If you cross the credit line, it means a problem. So this is an example. Coming back to the structure, this is the probably the third structure that we can think of. So what it does well here is continuing on the importance principle that we spoke just now. Because you have a blue background here, it automatically sort of encapsulates all the 4 orange boxes within that, indicating that all these 4 boxes are somehow related. So if you want to show that relationship, it's a good idea for you to have a box like this. Similarly, the 2 at the bottom and the one on the right, seems to be not related to these. So once again, I think this is conceptual. Please feel free to customize it to your own needs. This is another sort of smart example, I feel, wherein you would use the entire top area to highlight the key components of your dashboard, of your KPIs, I mean. The bottom part, once again, the order will remain the same. And I'll just show you an example of that. Here is a dashboard. As you can see, the box on the top, and it sort of, it is text-based. However, it is smart to put all the right information in here. So I think it's a good way to use that top bar. Another sort of example would be, another structure would be this. If your process or if your dashboard somehow reflects a certain step-by-step process, then I think this is a kind of dashboard you might want to use. Now moving on to how to choose various dashboard elements. So usually I think I'll also show an example of a poor choice, a dashboard that makes poor choices. Here is one such example. As you can see, I think I'll just give you a couple of seconds so that you can look at it and digest what's in here. So as you can see here, I think it talks about all the right things. You can see sales, operating expenses, income and net income and so on. However, what it does a very poor job of is that it just dumps these gotchas as though somehow this is the best way to represent this information. But it's not. It actually occupies space, but it doesn't add much value. So the fact that you have a whatever the indicator right here maybe indicates that you are somewhere in green, etc. However, it doesn't really indicate. It can be used for much more information than that. Another example could be this one. It's a pretty decent way of using this, though I think there are a lot of improvements that you could bring to this dashboard. But the fact that you have a trend and you have a line showing the trend makes it very easy for folks to understand this. These are just a couple of thoughts on this. Here is, this is something that I got from a website, someone called Noah Ilinsky has made this. So what this tells you essentially is how can you use various visual encodings to represent your information. Uh, I think, so I will have this is the URL of this, the table, and I will make sure that you will have the URL at the end of this webinar. But the most important area to focus on actually also happens to be on the top left, which tells you that position and placement are useful in conveying almost every type of information, and probably is most effective. As you can see here, these three circles clearly indicate to you that somehow this blue is somehow lower, and these two blue circles are somehow higher, right? And also these two blue circles which are on the top are in some way equal, right? So you're able to understand all of this. And given the way our eyes and our brain are sort of hardwired, right, we are extremely good at knowing all these different variations. Even if there's a minor variation, we'll still be able to quickly capture that. So if you want your target audience to be able to understand what you want to convey, you would rather use this kind of visual encodings so that they will quickly digest what you have. Another area, of course, the text labels, it's once again easy, and you can represent, quantitative, ordinal, as in, something that has a rank, categorical, various categories, or relational information. You will be able to show this information and people will be able to digest. Similarly, length is also very good, and the size and area is pretty good as well. One thing I would like to call your attention to is that color is not necessarily a good indicator of quantitative information, right? So what that means is if you have different colors in, let's say, a pie chart maybe, or even a bar graph, right? It does not necessarily represent quantitative information, I mean color by itself. If you have the bar may indicate the quantitative information, but not necessarily the color itself. One other area that I would like to call your attention to and then move on is, you will be able to use enclosures just like what we have seen a few slides ago, and also you can also show connections between various elements if you would like to. So here is an example of once again a poor decision in terms of various elements used here. I know this graph, this dashboard is not particularly very clear from a graphical quality perspective. However, that doesn't make much of a difference in terms of what point that I'm trying to make, which is that it is very difficult for you to read pie charts. There are a lot of people who are sort of averse to reading pie charts, especially here. You cannot tell, for example, what this small slice is and how that is related to the slice beside it, right? You can also not tell actually between these two slices as which one is higher or lower, unless you see the number along with it. So if you actually have to put the number as well, then what is the value that the pie chart is adding? Right, so let's move on. So this is another poor example. Once again, I'm just trying to beat down on the pie chart just because I think a lot of people love to use pie charts, and it's not necessarily a good way to represent information. Here, once again, you can see that there's, because of, even though the number of categories are actually low in the top left, it still makes it very difficult to read. The same is the case with the bottom left as well. If you would like to show categories which are just about maybe 3 or so, then pie chart is a decent option. I wouldn't say a great option, but a decent option. But even in that case, if you have more than 1 year, so more than 1 periods you want to compare, then pie chart is a very poor option for you to choose. I would now come to colors as to how, what's the sort of minimal information that you need to be able to produce good dashboards. Essentially, as you might know, the most important task for you when you create a dashboard and when you use colors in dashboard is to create color harmony, right? So that different colors, when displayed together, look good. I think that's the essence of color harmony. So in this context, I think it is important for us to know a color circle. This is a color circle which shows primary, secondary, and tertiary colors. And the way it works is something like this. So you have the triangle in between, which has three primary colors. You add these two primary colors to produce secondary colors. So essentially, you have now, by this time, you have like three primary and three secondary colors, and you display that over on a circle. So as you keep merging these two colors more and more, then you will be able to sort of create that fuller color circle. Here we are just using, or we just use the primary, secondary, and tertiary colors here. So some ideas for color harmony. I think these are the mostly used principles or ideas, you can say. In the color circle, if you would like to create harmony, use either the colors that are adjacent to each other. This is called analogous harmony, or use the ones which are diametrically opposite. These are complementary colors. In addition to this, you also have what's called a triangle kind of a combination. So you can use as you rotate this triangle, for example, whatever colors that lands on, you will be able to use those colors and create decent options for yourself. You also have either a square or a rectangle. So for example, you create a square, something like this, which is this particular color, and then light green and the darker green, and this color. So that makes a sort of a rectangle or a square. You'll be able to use those colors as well. To simplify all of this, there's a website called colorbrewer2.org, and we'll make sure that this information is also passed on to you at the end of this webinar. You can use this webinar. You can use this website to be able to choose and pick colors which sort of go well together. So it's a good website, and you can input as to how you are going to use that, the colors, and based on that you'll be able to pick those colors. I'll make sure you'll get this information by the end of this webinar. Okay, now let us come to the process of creating a good dashboards. As I mentioned, we have tested this before, and we have been able to use this, give this to a novice and be able to produce a pretty decent dashboard. So I think this could be useful to you. The first step in our 5-step process is simply create a laundry list of KPIs. So at this point, you're not necessarily thinking about whether that KPI is relevant, not relevant, is it important, not important, nothing. You're just putting it down on a piece of paper or notepad or wherever you think is the right place for it. Right? After that is done, we are actually going to sort of do it as a case study, so I'll get to that. But right now, let me just run through the list. Number 2 is prioritize. Choose the top 20% of the KPIs that has 80% or more impact. The key word here is impact, right? So that helps you prioritize as to what KPIs are important. Allocate the 20% to the most visible areas. Remember the 4 boxes we saw, or essentially use either the top box or the top left box, and list or use those 20% of the KPIs in that area, and the rest, depending on the priority, can come as you go down. The importance will also go down, right? Choose these elements wisely, right, like we discussed, and last, beautify. Okay, here is an example this is the case study that I spoke about. So here's a laundry list of various KPIs. So if you can run through it, this pretty much has everything that you have in an income statement, along with information like average selling price or cash position and certain other balance sheet items. And there is some analysis information also, which is like debt equity ratio and so on and so forth. This is a long list. I'm sure most of us are very familiar with it. Now the question is, how do you really prioritize, right? So that's the question. So I think here the target audience and the the context is going to be relevant, right? So in our current case study, right? So this is the context. This, excuse me. The CEO is worried about cash position, right? So this is a company that is a startup, has been around for some time. Their product is just in the market. Their sales are about to just pick up, and the CEO is worried, and he asks you questions like, "Hey, how many can I hire now? Can we spend marketing dollars as we planned? Are our profitable direct sales picking up?" These are the kind of questions that the CEO has, right? So based on all of this, we can then prioritize this information, right? So all the information right here, the net sales, the cash position, net margin, the head count, the average selling price, the head count by department, the total head count, cash flow, right, revenue channel. These are the ones that can be prioritized based on the information that we just spoke. I think you can also have the actuals and the forecasts as well, because those are also relevant, right? So once the prioritization is over, go ahead, draft a dashboard manually. Now, do not start it on any tools, because usually tools constrain you more than enable you at this point, right? So it is best if you took a paper and a pencil and start working on it. The canvas. Go ahead, start designing your dashboard. At least put the the top priority ones on the most important area, and as you go down, get to the others. At this point in time, this is how it would look, right? And after this, you would create. Once you're done with this, right, you would then go over to the tool, your favorite tool, whatever that tool is, and then you create your dashboard. Excuse me. So here is the finished dashboard that we have come up with. Incidentally, I had shown you very early on as to how the dashboard sort of looked like, I told you that spreadsheet actually hijacked the structure of the dashboard, but now you can see that this is a much better dashboard. I will talk a little bit about the design choices here, so that you can understand what is here. So as I told you, the CEO, the prime consumer of this dashboard, is worried about cash flow position and how the company is going to do, right? So as you can see, the top, the first chart that you are likely to see is the cash position chart, right? And it clearly tells you where the actuals end and where the forecast begins, right? It's very clear. Similarly, you can see that there's a cash flow, and red in some way indicates not so good. So negative cash flow is in red, and after some time it sort of picks up, and which is actually a function of net sales that you can see, which have picked up somewhere in January 2014, and of course this is a forecast. So this is the first thing, whatever is the top priority you're able to see here. So let's go to the other areas. We can talk about average selling price. The CEO was also concerned about whether the direct channel is actually picking up or not. As you can see, the channel is also picking up right here, and somehow the average selling price is also sort of indicating an upward trend right here. You can also see on the right hand side you have net margin, and some of the things that and of course we talked about hiring decision, and you can clearly see your engineering and sales and marketing folks right here, and you can get the total headcount of this organization right here. It's easy to spot. So some of the other areas could be that, as you can see, between these two charts, we have been able to avoid putting in the the axis twice. We just have it once, and the same is the case right here, where you have axis at the bottom, and that automatically doubles up as the axis for the chart above as well. You can also see that there's very little noise on the dashboard. For example, we don't have a background. We don't have, let's say, for the chart area, there's no background right here. So, excuse me. The idea here is that we want to minimize the data ink to total ink ratio, which means the ink that it takes for you to print out, the ink that goes to create those data points on the dashboard to the total ink it takes, right? You want to be able to maximize that, okay? All right, so this is the case study that we had in mind. We will now move on to a few examples and a critique of various dashboards, which my colleague Adarsh will take up.
Thank you, Chaitanya. Now I'm going to critique some dashboards that we have picked up from the internet. At the beginning of each of the dashboards, I'm going to give you a 5-second gap so that you will be able to digest the information. This is a dashboard from earlier. This has been taken from wufoo.com. This is a dashboard for performance of a web page over a period of 1 month. Here we see that the KPIs have been indicated at the top of the dashboard. This is in line with one of the structures that we have recommended, and the KPIs are adequately highlighted for the user to consume. And a heat map of the world is shown here. A heat map of the world is shown here to show the entries from different parts of the world. And as we go below, there is information regarding the countries and the cities. Here we feel that there is a little bit of prioritization necessary, as not all information from the continent level, country level and the city level would be important. Also, avoiding this information will reduce the clutter on the dashboard. Similarly, on the right side, there is information regarding the technical aspects which deal with very minute numbers. This also can be avoided in order to reduce the clutter on the dashboard. Now we will move on to the next dashboard. This is a dashboard taken from Saif.com. We feel that the dashboard is very neatly designed and easy on the eye, but upon taking a deeper look, we feel that there are some shortcomings in this dashboard. Firstly, in the KPI revenue, there is no reference, so we do not know if we are better off or worse off than the previous period. And there is no index in the heat map of the world here, so it is difficult to understand what information is being given to the user. And in the funnel chart, the absolute numbers are not given, so the magnitude of the performance at different levels of a conversion is not available. And in the graph at the bottom right corner, we see that the information provided is for the month of April, while the period in question is the month of May. So this should be avoided where the conflicting periods are given. Now moving on to the next dashboard. This is a dashboard showcasing the investment of a company. Here we see the KPIs are indicated at the top of the dashboard. This is again, as we have talked earlier, this is in line with one of the structures that we recommend. And we also see that the prioritization of KPIs is evident because only one chart is being shown in the entire area available in the canvas. So in the event more information is sought, the buttons are given where the user can navigate to other parts to fetch the data. But this indicates the prioritization of data. There is a slight improvement that we can make in this dashboard too. We feel that the numbers are too big. This can be changed to millions of dollars. This can be changed to millions of dollars so that it is easy to read. And and taking a look at the graph, though the colors are nice and contrasting, easy to read, the information regarding the axis is missing, so we do not know what the raised amount and the number of startups are actually in different periods in question. Now we will move on to the next dashboard. This is a dashboard from clipfolio.com. We have taken this too from the internet, and here we see that the KPIs are placed at the left side of the dashboard. This is in line with what we recommend, that the most important KPI should get the most amount of space, and placing them on the left would also indicate that they are more important. And the profit margins are placed on the right side of the dashboard. This dashboard overall makes the optimum use of the canvas available, and particularly the return on equity graph here. This is information for the 3 years. So it is natural for people building a dashboard to go for a line chart, but here in this case a bar graph has been used. This will allow the user to optimally use the space, and also, as talked earlier, it's easier for the human mind to distinguish between the lengths of the bars, and here it is clearly evident that 2010 has been the best performing year. With that, we will conclude the critiquing of the dashboards. These are the resources that we have used in building this webinar. Now I give the mic back to Chaitanya.
Thank you, Adarsh. So we have created what we call a dashboard toolkit that you will be able to use like a framework of sorts, and be able to, you can give it to either use it yourself or give it to any of your colleagues to be able to get a decent dashboard from them, and you can train them using this. It's like a toolkit, like I mentioned. It has a step-by-step process, and it has all the tools that we have discussed here, and of course it has all the links as well. Someone who uses this will be able to easily create dashboards. You will be able to purchase this tool on our website, and as we speak, I'll be able to send you the link. If you're interested, you can take up I think right now, as we discussed, the link should be with you right now. You'll be able to see that in the chat section. It costs about $19.99, and we feel obviously that it's worth it. So we would love to hear your feedback on this webinar. I'll quickly initiate a poll, and I would request you all to give your feedback on this webinar. It should be on any moment now. Okay, we will have the poll on for the next about 5 seconds or so. Cool. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you joining us today. Our next webinar will be on January 22nd, 2014, and it will be on how to create a winning budget. So I hope to see you all there. Thank you very much. I really appreciate everyone joining us. Today I would also like to thank my fellow panelist Adarsh and my colleague Karthik, who has helped me in putting this webinar together, and everyone else who has worked on this webinar. Thank you so much, and thanks a lot. The webinar is now concluded, and thank you.